What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got some Dis and Logos cards to talk about from the upcoming Mass Mutation expansion of Keyforge. Now, first couple here, well, at least one of them at least, was shared by the lovely Lord Farquaad, won one of the marketing decks apparently in a recent stream, was kind enough to share the card with us. That's really lovely. And we'll start off having a little bit of a look at Cinder. Now, there is an enhancement on the card, but that was brought over from another card. It will not usually be on the card. What is usually on the card, 6 power, 2 armor, with Taunt. That is to say, you cannot attack the neighbors of Cinder, you must attack Cinder itself. Oh yeah, and when you reap, you destroy a friendly creature. Now this is essentially the downside. Big creature, good power, good armor, got Taunt, but you got to destroy a friendly creature to reap. Now, if you're fighting, this isn't an issue. You got 6 power, you got 2 armor, you're going to be good at the old fighting thing, there's no downside, you're good to go. If you want to reap, however, it's slightly disappointing, because of course, big powerful creature, lots of armor, sit there reaping, and it's quite hard for your opponent to take you out. That's nice. But now you've got to destroy a friendly creature. And there's going to be plenty of times you don't want to, and where this is going to be a genuine big downside. But then there's also plenty of times you're going to have something like, I mean, look, the classic example here is Bread and the Fanatic. Bread and the Fanatic, when you play it, your opponent gains an amber. Boo! When it gets destroyed, you steal free amber. So that's pretty awesome. So if you've got something like Bread the Fanatic or Dust Imp would be another example here, whereby when it gets destroyed you gain 2 amber. If you can have a creature with a good destroy trigger, you're golden, and this is going to be wonderful. If you can't, there is a fairly big downside to this. You have been warned. It's actually fairly reminiscent of Pit Lord, weirdly. Now when I say reminiscent of Pit Lord, I mean a powerful Dis creature that comes along with Taunt. Pit Lord was a 9 power 0 armor with Taunt, did give you a double amber bonus, but also forced you to play Dis as your active house, and Dis went wrong quite a bit. I love Pit Lord, but let's face it, Pit Lord, it led to some awkward scenarios, I think would be a polite way to put it. So Cinder looks like fun. The other new discard we can have a little bit of a look at here is Waking Nightmare, which I think might have been revealed by Tabletop Royale. I'm not 100% sure. If I can find out for certain, I'll pop it in the description. Now, Waking Nightmare has an enhanced Capture Amber. It's an action card, which means that it will put that icon onto one of your cards in the deck. Now, you can see it's got a natural amber icon, so it gains an amber when you play it, and it will put a capture icon onto one of your other cards. Very important note about capture icons, any friendly creature can capture. Of course they have to, this is an action, actions can't capture amber, but it's nice to have that confirmation. So it gives you an amber bonus when you play it, and it gives one of your other cards a capture icon, so you capture an amber when you play it. I mean, starting off, right, this looks good. This looks like there's some stuff going for it right off the bat. What does it actually do when you play it? Keys cost +1 for each Dis creature in play during your opponent's next turn. This has the potential to be phenomenal. Now, it's not as reliable as Eddie, let's be clear. But for one turn, this could be not a million miles away from Eddie. Eddie increases the cost of forging by 1 for each card you've got in your archives, but Eddie's is a permanent ability, and you can build up your archive. So your archive stays, and the ability stays, and you sit there with your opponent's keys costing a lot. This is more of a one-shot deal, but you could have, like, and the ceiling is lower, admittedly, but you could have 10, 12 Dis creatures in play, and then you play this down, and your opponent's keys cost 10 or 12 more next turn. You could not have 12 Dis creatures, that would be stupid. 11 would be the maximum. And I'm not even editing that bit out because it's an important point. You get 12 cards from each of your free houses in a 36-card deck. So absolute maximum would be 11 creatures plus 1 copy of Waking Nightmare. Cool. The reality here is it's going to be 3 to 6. Because even if you've got like 8 creatures in your deck, you're unlikely to be able to get all 8 of them on the board at the same time. So the reality is here, you're looking at 3 to 6. But that's good. That's like a Lash of Broken Dreams, except remember that Lash of Broken Dreams is an artifact with an action. So yes, you can use it turn after turn, and that's lovely. But also, you play it down, it's exhausted, and then next turn you can use it. That ain't the same, ladies and gentlemen. That ain't the same. Now the good news is I love logos, and we've got some logos cards to talk about as well. And we might as well start off, if we want to go alphabetically, which I do, with Mind Over Matter. When you play it, you put each creature into its owner's archives. Oh. This is one complicated card. Now, before we get anywhere else, I need to know if Eddie is in this set. Remember in Keyforge, some cards are new and some are brought in from previous sets, and until we see the set list, we're not going to know exactly which ones are which. Eddie may or may not be in the set. We need it. Imagine having like 8 creatures on board, then playing this, putting all 8 of those creatures into your archive, and then your opponent having to pay 8 more amber to forge, on top of whatever was in your archive anyway. Don't play this when Eddie's already on the field, unless you've got another Eddie. Some decks have multiple Eddies. If you do, ignore that. And then in theory, you build up your archive, you drop one of these, then you drop an Eddie. This could be a devastating combo, but let's assume you don't have an Eddie. Well, if you archive creatures, you get their coming into play abilities again. So even something simple like an Urchin. Urchin I find a really nice example. Again, we don't know if Urchin's going to be in the set or not. But Urchin, when you play it, you steal an amber. And then it's a 1 power creature. Now, it's got elusive, and it's not out and out garbage, but generally speaking, it's not a creature that you're going to be relying on for the game. So you pick it up, you put it in your archives, you play it back down again. Hey, here's a fun one. Deacillus, that massive creature. Because when you play it, you capture all of your opponent's amber and deal 5 damage to an enemy creature. Plus, it's a 20 power creature. So if your opponent is about to knock Deacillus out, or they've got lots and lots of amber, and Deacillus doesn't, archive it. Remember, if you archive it when it's got the amber on, it gives the amber back to your opponent. That's very sad. Don't do this to give your opponent enough amber to forge a key. That would be silly. But if played right, this could be devastating. And that's kind of where I'm coming down on this. I think there is so much potential. And that's just with your creatures. How about your opponent's creatures? you know what you could do, right? You know what would be an awful lot of fun? Just archiving all of your opponent's creatures. Because let's say they've got creatures from 3 different houses out. They can pick up their archive, but remember, picking up your archive is all or nothing. You pick up all the cards or none of the cards. There is no middle ground. You have no other choice. Which means your opponent picks these up, and then they're stuck in their hand. And sure, they can play them all back down again, but if they've got 3 different houses, then they've got to wait a little bit. Because they can play 1 this turn, 1 next turn, 1 the turn after. And this is going to build up quite a lot. I adore this. I think this is a phenomenal card. Doesn't give you an amber bonus. I think we can all hopefully at this stage appreciate why. But yeah, this one has so much potential. And it could be archiving your creatures to reuse coming into play abilities. It could be having something like Eddie for a ridiculous combo. It could be getting your opponent's creatures off the board, especially where they can't play them all back down again. And look, what you don't want to do here is just give your opponent all of their coming into play abilities back. If they've got 4 Shadows creatures all with really good play abilities, don't use Mind Over Matter. It will backfire. And it is important to note the wording here. When you play it, you put each creature into its owner's archives. There is no middle ground. There's not yours or your opponent's. Every creature straight to the archives, no middle ground. You need to make sure you're ready to drop it. But if you are ready to drop it, this could be absolutely huge. And the final one to have a little bit of a look at today, it's another logos one. It's Q-Mechs. Now, as a side note, if anyone was wondering where that Capture Amber went from Waking Nightmare, it went on to Q-Mechs. It is a 1 power, 0 armor creature. Remember, the capture is an enhancement, you don't always have it. When you play it, you draw a card. When it's destroyed, you archive it. I love this. It's like an amber making machine. This is going to keep being more and more fun as time goes by. Because you see, what's going to happen is you're going to play it down, and then you're going to draw a card. And then either your opponent destroys it, it gets archived, next logo's turn, you play it and draw a card, or your opponent doesn't destroy it and you sit there and reap. No matter what actually happens, you're going to get some benefit out of this. No matter what happens, you are going to be able to really take advantage of this card. Either you're drawing lots and it's getting destroyed and being archived and then you keep drawing, or your opponent doesn't destroy it to give you the extra draw power and you just sit there and reap constantly. It's a 1 power creature. There's no skirmish, there's no elusive. It doesn't do anything else. But when it's destroyed, you archive it. Ready to play it down next turn, and draw power is good. It's not one of these headline grabbing creatures. It is not going to be one of these that's just in the center of every winning deck. But if you get 1 or 2 of these in your deck, I promise you it's going to make a difference. And while we're here, it is worth pointing out that this has an enhancement. Now, it's not always going to have an enhancement, but this is one of those cards for which having an enhancement will be huge. Because every time you play it, you capture an amber. Now, of course, capturing an amber is the worst one to have, because when it's destroyed, the amber goes back. It's a 1 power creature. But imagine this is printed with an amber bonus. When you play it, you get an amber and draw a card. It gets destroyed and gets archived. You play it, get an amber and draw a card, and so on. Or it's printed with an extra card enhancement. So when you play it, you draw 2 cards. It gets destroyed and gets archived. You put it out your archives. You draw another 2 cards. I love Qmax. It is going to be really dependent on the deck as to how good this is. But if you can draw this with a good enhancement and a way to destroy your own creature, yes, this will be phenomenal. So there we go. Those are the new logos and discards. And over the next few days, we've got another few cards we need to be talking about. We're in reveal season. Reveal season is awesome. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about the cards we've talked about in this video. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk Keyforge and a whole bunch of other games. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all that good stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.